My first question is, can you speak on the importance of authenticity and accuracy when depicting real life figures like Bob Marley in a biographical film?
Yeah, I mean, look, every film that's ever been made is a recreated version of something. So you're just trying to get close. You're trying to put together the thing that you think is most authentic based on either the facts you have or yeah, or the information that's out there, and trying to make some decisions that get us closer to that authenticity. And I've tried to do that in all my work, whether it was Monsters and Men or Top Boy or King Richard, all stories based on real people or loosely based on real people that try to bring us closer to the truth. Bob Marley was no different. The only difference is that there's more public information about who Bob was, what he looked like, what he spoke like. So Bob is a prophet to so many people, and so the pressure of doing Bob was nailing, just trying to get as accurate as we possibly could. But yeah, in making a 2-hour movie, we had to make certain choices. We had to take certain liberties, to create a version of the truth, that hopefully gave us some insight into who the man was.
And speak about your former work. What did you take away from King Richard that you used in this film?
I think access, communication, family. I was very blessed to work with Isha Price, who was Venus and Serena's sister, on the film. Lynn Price as well. And so I had sisters involved, I've only helped to enrich the film, made it better. But I think once you had that experience, you understand that what families members might be protective of. So it's kind of like a quarterback dropping back. Like, you understand the soft spots in the pocket,
Mhm.
understand the weak spots, and you're just trying to trying not to get hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're trying not to get hit, but it's like, look, there's a lot of Marleys, and so it's just communicating that we're making a movie, communicating as the quarterback, how we're going to get the ball downfield, so to speak, in movie language. And so yeah, I think I learned a lot from that first experience, just kind of where to navigate, how to navigate, how to what did they say? Ask for forgiveness, not for permission. So yeah, how to just kind of move, how to move in the pocket. And I think I learned a lot from that experience.
Okay. And how important was to have Rita Marley's story told in this film, and how did you approach it with Miss Lashana Lynch?
Yeah, I mean, it became the backbone to our story in a lot of ways, which I didn't know at the outset. It wasn't apparent. It wasn't apparent to the outside world, and I think that discovery, about Rita's involvement in Bob's life and who she was to the family, just was like, whoa, this is really interesting, and it's what gave our movie its shape in a lot of ways. And Lashana, look, she's a tremendous actress, Jamaican descent, um, fierce, just fierce. I don't know how else to describe her. Just embodied the spirit of that woman, and she did it so gracefully, and she did it with passion and pride. And so, yeah, kudos to Lashana for bringing that energy to set every day, bringing that protectiveness of the culture to set. And yeah, we had sort of a, I don't know, a fullback. We had somebody that was like lead blocking for Bob in a lot of ways. Like, I'm here to protect Bob. And I felt that from meeting Rita in person. I felt that from casting Lashana, that we had somebody that was going to protect Bob and protect Bob's legacy.
Yeah, that explains why Lashana's accent was on point. I was like, Jesus, she sounds like she's really Jamaican.
Oh, she's Jamaican. She's Jamaican. Yeah, British born, but Jamaican.
Yeah, yeah. One of the most important parts of the film is the music. It played a central role in this film. How did you and Chris Bowers approach it to make sure that the vision came through the music?
Well, fortunately for me, it was my fifth or sixth collaboration with Chris. I did my very first film, Monsters and Men.
Mhm,
From there, we just established a very great shorthand.
mhm,
And so, even when I was developing the script early in the early stages, I was sharing those script drafts with Chris. And so he can understand what the movie was, what the timeline was. We can get familiar with those songs, with Exodus, and so I think there was a, a deep dive into what the actual like baseline for the music was going to be born out of. Like we knew that the instrumentation was going to be similar. It can't just we had to pull from somewhere. So just being able to have that rapport with your your crew was amazing. And that same thing for my cinematographer, Robert Ellswood, and my editor, Pam Martin. We had a shorthand, but specifically music, because reggae's tricky and it doesn't always work cinematically to accentuate a moment in the way that you want it to.
Yeah.
And so score really helped us to elevate certain moments cinematically, but without abandoning sort of the core instrumentation of what we hear in the film.
Mhm.
And so that was just trying to find the balance, trying to find the uplift, trying to find the momentum, trying to find the chord progressions that helped to tell the story cinematically, and elevate, if there's a such thing as elevating what Bob was already doing. We certainly tried to complement that.
Yeah, and you do this cool thing in the throughout the film where you kind of do flashbacks and you kind of hide. I don't want to say who, hide a certain figure in his life. Um, what was your approach to developing these flashbacks and who you were going to show, who you were going to show off screen um, in the film?
Yeah, we have visions and we have flashbacks, and we
Mhm.
were definitely balancing that. But the visions in the film, it was widely known that Bob had visions. Apparently, he saw the shooting before it happened, and
Mm.
so I wanted something that captured our story and the story that we were trying to tell about Bob, and a story about trying to humanize him. And it felt the best representation of that was going back to Bob as a little kid, a kid that was harboring something, kid that was running from something, running from himself, running from an absentee father, running from this pain. And at some point being lifted by this spirit. And so that became the central sort of vision for the film. And the placement took a while for us to find that, but then realized that it had to be tied to the music. And so once we nailed that down, it became, of course, there's a misdirect that we do in the film. And we do that on purpose because I think that's what makes it land. I think Bob was misdirected. And once he finds himself, once he finds his core, once he finds that belief, that's where transcendence happens. Bob, in Rastafarianism, they don't believe in dying.
Mhm.
And maybe he's gone in the physical sense or the physical world, but he's still here. And that's what we were trying to create, was a transcendent moment that your spirit, your music lives on. His message continues stronger today than it was when he was here. And so that's what that visual representation tried to capture.
Okay, I got two more questions here. What resonated most with you about Bob Marley's story, and why?
Man, of course. Look, I sound like a broken record when I say the music, the message, the unity, what he's singing for is incredible. He was able to quell violence in his country for a certain period of time. It's amazing what music can do, the power of music, the power of message. But Bob, I think, on a personal note, was just inspirational to me because of where he came from and how he was able to do it. Like, he's a very improbable story. He's a kid from the streets of Trenchtown, homeless, absentee father, like single mother, no money, like not supposed to make it. The world tells people like Bob Marley, you're never going to make it. And what did he do? He rose to be one of the greatest musicians to ever do it. So any kid in any favela in Rio, or, anywhere in the South Bronx or here in DC, like wherever, like it just shows you that you could do it if you believe in yourself. Like greatness didn't just fall out of the sky. I think we just assume when people are like legends that it just happened. Like he worked really hard at that. And I wanted to show that work ethic. Like he wrote his band members. My man was up at 5 a.m., You know, he was writing constantly. There was an outpouring of musical genius. Like he didn't just accept anything, he fought for it militantly. He was a revolutionary. And that's what speaks to me about Bob, his spirit, his fight, his toughness. Like, yeah, he's there's some sweet songs in there, but my man was singing from a really deep, deep place of pain and burden to give us joy. He created joy for us, and I think that's what makes him a legend and an icon.
Okay. Last question. What song did you feel replicates what song from Bob Marley's collection could you choose to describe your feeling once you finish the film?
Well, obviously, you know, one of the last scenes in the movie is Redemption Song, which is my favorite song. And it became sort of the thesis for this film in a lot of ways that Bob had to redeem himself. I think oftentimes you carry the burden as a young person. It's you blame yourself when your parents leave you or these things happen. And it's strange, right? Like how could it be a little kid's fault? But I think he carried that burden, and I think Redemption Song in our film represents this release. It represents this. He says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. I think there's a little bit of letting go and allowing yourself to be loved. Love yourself so you could love others. And that captures to me the essence of Bob.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Really enjoyed the movie, man. And can you please do us a Luther Vandross biopic?
Yeah, I might have to pull off the biopics for a minute, but yeah, we'll see.